Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the situation of the suffering church around the world. Today it is my very great privilege to be with Sister Ruksana Samuel, a St. Paul sister working in Pakistan, and she's going to be telling us a little bit about her story as well as her contact with everyday people in Pakistan, the challenges facing the Pakistani people and how she tries to bring the Word of God to them. Sister Ruksana, thank you for being with us here today in our program.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks to all those who are listening to me. That it's a great privilege that I speak to them, something which is really, we feel.
Yes.
So thanks for listening also.
Sister, I'd like to ask you a little bit about yourself, about your family. Were you a convert or did you grow up in a traditionally Catholic family? How was it a little bit your youth?
No, I was born in Catholic family, so my parents were really founded in faith, even though our house is far from the church. But I saw always my mother early in the morning reciting the rosary, even though she was a working woman. But still my father and my mother, I saw they were really prayerful people.
And this is what brought you to the faith? I mean, was this your first impression as a child that awoke the faith in you?
Yes, of course, this was the first. The rest because there was one bishop who was, at that time not bishop, but he was a priest. But because our house was very far and we had some Christian families all together, so he was coming every Friday in our house to have a celebration of the Mass. So it is, I mean, I felt it very closely because every Friday we were really preparing ourselves well for the Mass. So this helped me also a lot.
But that's quite unique because, I mean, first of all, the Christians in Pakistan are very, very few in number. I think you're less than 2% of the total population.
Yes.
To have a priest come to your house, how was it that you were so special, if you will, or the family was so special?
It's not that we were special. He organized himself in one day this area, the other day that area. So he had many areas to visit. But so he found his time. And plus he was giving the responsibility to one of the person to gather all the Christian around. So one of the person was going together and telling, this day the priest is coming, so we have to gather all of them in one place, in one house, because we don't have the church in that area also, or no gathering place. So one of the family house we were gathering. Mm-hmm. And I can say it is a grace that most of the time it was in our house.
How is the relation, if I may ask, between the Christians and the Muslims? For example, you growing up, they knew you were Christian and you knew they were Muslims. How was the day-to-day life for you?
For the day-to-day life, I did not feel any problem with them. We were friends together, we were growing together happily. They were growing in their faith and they had their Eid celebration. We had our Christian celebration. We felt it very close, but now the time has grown and then there has come some kind of situation which keeps us far. I felt it when I go for holidays in the family. I felt it that the Muslim brothers and sisters are a little far from us. But before, when I was a small child, I did not feel it. I did not feel it at all. Even my friends and me, we were eating in one plate. We had no problem. But even though now I don't know, there is some kind of atmosphere created by maybe by media or by something that
causes tensions.
Causes tensions also.
I want to come back a little bit to your story. When was it that you first had a sense, I want to become a nun, I have something else, I feel a different call? Was it like a St. Paul conversion, or was it something that you gradually grew into?
No, it was St. Paul's conversion that I really got my vocation.
It was like a thunder,
like a light,
lightning.
Like a light for me. A conversion of St. Paul was a light for me.
Because What happened?
When one of the sisters, she arrived in my cousin's house to take her to the convent. So she asked me also, and I said no to her, because I did not think in my life to be a religious person, to become like a nun. So that time when she left, and they left both of them, and I was alone, going to the college alone every time. I was reading everyday Bible, so particularly the moment I read this passage, conversion of St. Paul on the chapter 9, Acts of the Apostle. So it was for me really a reflection that if God has chosen St. Paul, why not me? St. Paul was able to do much more, and because he was persecuting the church. He was not, that time my understanding was he was not a good man. So he was persecuting the church, but God chose him for his goodness, to preach God's message, and he did. He gave his life for this word. So the same intention I had in my mind, why not I? Why don't I have to give God to the people?
Yes.
So
and then what happened?
Then my father rejected.
Your father said no. You went to him, you said, Father, I'd like to be a
I'd
sister.
like to enter in the convent, and he said no.
Why?
So he was afraid. He was afraid of the culture, that I might go back because I'm a daughter. If it is a son, he might say yes, but because I am a daughter, plus because he was afraid that because he's a simple man, so he was afraid if I will enter in the convent, he will not able to see me again. So these two kind of fears he had, so he said no. So it took him 2 years to say yes.
What convinced him?
For me, my experience was the rosary, Mother Mary. A rosary which I prayed every day for this purpose. And it is advised by one of the catechists. He told me that when I shared with him, and he said, don't worry, Ruksana, just pray rosary. And every day I prayed rosary, and that was the one.
And finally, you or he came to you, or you went to him? How did it happen that he finally said yes?
Actually, that was also dramatic, something drama. Actually, my elder sister was going to marry, and it was just 1 week before. And then I finished my exams, so I was also ready for the wedding to prepare because after her, it was me. So in Pakistan, usually marriages are like that. After elder sister, the younger sister has to marry, and then turn by turn. So I knew that after her is my turn. So I chose religious life. So
did he have somebody that he wanted for you? Did he have a young man chosen for you?
No. There was one of my auntie asked, but my mother said no, because my mother already knew that my intention is not this one.
So your mother was secretly supporting you?
My mother was supporting me really.
Yes. So tell me, you were telling the story about how it happened.
It happened like that my uncle, the father of my cousin name is Shamim, she's also a daughter of St. Paul.
Ah, yes.
Yes. And he told to my mother, my father told to my mother early in the morning, I don't know what is inspiration here, but he said like that, okay, now Josephine, my elder sister, is going to marry, so let's think about Ruksana also. He said like that, and he left for job. My mother did not understand what he wanted to say. So she told me, and I started to cry. I said, why he has to think about me? And my mother was also crying. Maybe she was also thinking that he's thinking for my marriage. But at that moment, my uncle came in the house, and he brought the letter of my cousin, who was already in the convent. And then he gave me the letter, and he said, Ruksana, please read for me what she wrote for me. Meanwhile, I was reading, I was crying and crying and crying. And my uncle asked me, why are you crying? And then I told him. I said, this is the thing my father told to my mother this morning. And he laughed so much. He said, no. He told me something else. And I asked him, what? And then he said, when your cousin Shamim will come back, both of you go together. That's what he told him. So fantastic. That was a great joy for me also. Wonderful. After all the cry, at least I had a good news.
Mary answered your prayers.
Yes.
Sister, did the convent choose you, or did you choose the convent? Did St. Paul choose you, or did you choose St. Paul?
I think St. Paul chose me. Because when I entered in the convent, I do not know any religious congregation. But I know all the sisters are the same sisters. And then I realized also that I am in the convent which is named Daughters of St. Paul. So that was a great joy for me also, that it is because of St. Paul I entered, and it is the St. Paul that I became the daughter of him. Yes. And it is the mission I will take him along, which he has started. So.
How do you, I mean, for a bishop, for example, or sometimes they say they have a motto or something which is a Bible passage which is close to them. Do you have one that is particularly close to you that you carry with you?
Yes, always.
What is it, if I may ask?
It is not you chose me, but I chose you to go and to bear fruit.
Sister, I want to ask you a little bit about your day-to-day life in Pakistan. Again, Christians are a minority, and I don't know, for example, can you openly, as a sister, walk and serve and evangelize in Pakistan?
It's not easy to evangelize openly, but of course in our churches we can do it openly.
So
but if you say on the road we stay and we speak about Jesus, it's not easy. We can't do it.
Only inside the places of worship you can...
Inside the places of worship. And for our book display also, if we have to preach something of religious thing, something, it's inside the... Even though we daughters of St. Paul have the opportunity to go to the Muslims, to go to the schools, and where there are 97% Muslim, even though they are Christian schools, but of course there are Muslims. And we bring our books there, but not religious books. Most of the time we are told by the principal, the Christian books, please hide them somewhere or put at the corner where the Muslim children will not see them. So we have to really find a separate corner for the Christian children, and the rest put the neutral books for them.
Yes. So how can you mission? How can you evangelize? Is it only through your witness as a person?
Yeah, first thing is to witness as a person, because in the book center also almost 12 hours we spend in the book center. So we go to the parishes and we preach there. We get time from the priest also to give us time, something to preach. We preach with we work with the young girls also. And in June and July, usually in Rawalpindi, I had arranged with my sisters family visit. So with the help of the parish priest, different parish priests, we were able to even visit our Christian families. So to help the young girls to come out to do something which they can do, because they have the ability to do, only they have the fear. And the fear of also to improve their self. So we arrange programs also in our house. We invite the girls also, young girls.
I wanted to take a step back because you touched on something very important, which is what is the situation for particularly young girls in the family? How do we understand their day-to-day life?
It's difficult because Pakistani culture is dominated by men. So the father is, like I was telling you, I cannot go to the convent till my father will give the permission. So if there is no father, it's the brother who will dominate. So the women are always in a low category. But I felt it. The Christian women are more they are more able to do something because they study well. Their more intention is to study well than the Christian boys.
But girls generally, for example, even not only in Christian families but also in Muslim families.
Even in Muslim families.
Can they study?
Yes, they can study.
They can study.
They can study.
It's
now.
not that only the boys are going to school, but girls and boys are going to school.
In the cities, the life is different than like Peshawar and other areas are different. In the cities, normally the women are studying. The girls go to the school. It's only the poverty which doesn't allow them to bring to the schools. Or there are certain families who doesn't allow their daughters to go to the school. And even they go, they have to study certainly high school and pass the finish.
That's where they stop.
Yes.
And then the life goes on, determined by the family.
By the family, see.
So you come to a Christian family, and what would you do? I
mean, sharing our values, our Christian value, preaching, and then printing also our books which are related to the Bibles. So now, since I am here, my dreams are this one, that when I go back to Pakistan, I not only print related to the Bible also, but something bringing from the Bibles all the values and making it general view, so that not only our Christian can benefit, but also our Muslim brothers and sisters can benefit. Because Christianity is not, the Christ did not come only for Christian or Catholic, He is for all.
Yes.
So that's my dream, to bring Christ to all.
Can you work with the Muslims at all? Is there an openness?
Of course there is fear. There is a fear that to talk with the Muslim it's not easy. There might be something else, they will bring it out and say something. But we try to answer them, and we try to try in a way to answer them that it's because the life is like I'm already in Pakistan many years. I have studied Islam, so to talk with them in a way that that they understand it properly. It's not that they think that I am preaching them to make them to convert. That's not my intention to convert them.
Can you walk openly in the streets in your religious habit, or do you have to be more discreet and wear normal clothes?
It's a grace that we are always recognized and we are always respected.
Yes.
There are some people who don't have, there are some mentalities, but most of the educated people, good Islamic people, they always respect. And at once they recognize that there is a person which is really different.
I want to come back a little bit to the question of your work with women. What would be some of the, let's say, what would be some of the things that you would be doing with these families, particularly with these women?
Actually, we were doing programs, seminars in a different topics, like topic for how can you grow in your faith, being a Christian woman, and being I had also in Karachi one program with one of the sister Ramzina that how can a Christian girl bring her value, being a daughter, being a mother, being a sister, so to bring Christian value. So it's not that you have to fight with the man or to fight with the culture, but to bring it out, the goodness is in you. Mm-hmm. So there are different kind of topic we arrange, like gospel values, and actually it is a purpose of somebody may enter in the convent to become a religious nun, religious nun. But most of the time, the thought is also, even they enter or not enter, but something they may learn. Mm-hmm. So gracefully, we always get the permission, because it's difficult also get the permission for the girls to come to a convent just for 1 day or for 3 days. It's not easy to have this also sense, because most of the time the girls, they don't come because they don't get the permission.
The father doesn't give the permission.
Mm-hmm. So that also sometimes we have to go to really to the father and to convince him, please allow your daughter to come. So it's difficult.
It's possible, but it's possible.
But it is possible.
Yes. And the mothers are on your side.
Yes, always.
Yes.
Always. Always. Sometimes I say to myself, church is full because of the women's.
Why? Because the men don't. Is it also because of the fact that the men don't come, or is it?
They come, but most of the time they are in work, because I told you that Pakistani church is a poor church. So even the Sunday they are working.
You spoke about poverty earlier, and I want to ask you a little bit about poverty in Pakistan. What do we understand by poverty? Can you maybe give us a little bit of a picture of what you mean by poverty in Pakistan?
Poverty, in a sense, they are poor. They can hardly earn for themselves. So just, in the Pakistan, we don't have this concept that only you have 2 or 3 children. We have many children. So like me, we are 8 brothers and sisters. So if the father alone is working, now it's a little bit of change atmosphere that the mother is also working. Before, no, only the father was working and all the family has to eat and provide there for their study and then all these things. So it was hard. Sometimes the man is working morning and evening, so no time.
Yes.
That's why maybe most of the time the Sunday is free, so he likes to sleep.
Yes, of course. 1 day of rest.
1 day rest. So.
You also mentioned that church was far away for you.
Yeah.
How often did you get to Mass as a young person?
As I told you, just twice a year.
Twice a year.
Since that priest was there, we were getting regularly, because our priests are also less, the vocation is less. So because of them, one priest cannot manage all the families to go and to visit them. So that also created a...
And another question, you mentioned that the climate is changing in Pakistan as a consequence of the tensions that are coming perhaps from outside or from the media. How do you feel this on your own person, this change in the climate?
Of course, there is a fear also, because living in a country which is, the majority are a different religion. It's we can see, whole world can see it's a difficult. And then this brings also in my side also, it's a fear. But on the other side, I feel my people also, the Christian also. I remember last year, Christmas time, we had a really fear that there might be something in the church, in the bomb or something. And then the priest was really afraid. He called so much security and this, but we wanted to have mass in the church. Out of that, and we were afraid because we were working together with the priest, and we were really afraid the people will not come to the church. But out of our surprise, the church was full, and even outside was a long time full. So that gave us really a joy.
Yes.
That you see the faith. Even they are simple, even they are poor, even they don't find, regular, they do not come for the church. But for Christmas and Easter, you can't count the Christian in the churches. It's full.
How do you overcome your own fear? And when you
Prayer.
start out every day, how do you overcome your own?
It's only the Mary and the prayer. And then the words of our founder, Blessed James Albironi, always a guide for me every day. It's that he
What were
received from
those?
the Blessed Sacrament was that, do not be afraid, I am with you. So it is Jesus saying to him, but I feel also every day that Jesus saying to me, do not be afraid, I am with you.
And so with this courage you can...
Yes.
You can,
And I always felt in my life his presence.
but you don't feel called to martyrdom.
If I call, I say yes. I'm not afraid of that. Because whether to live or to die, I'm for Christ. So last year, 2 years back when I was in Italy, the situation in Pakistan was really bad. And the sisters in Italy asked us, would you like to go back? Of course, we like to go back. Because if our people are dying there, we will die with them.
Sister, what would be your greatest wish for Pakistan, for the society, for the people in Pakistan?
My greatest wish is for my people. We are very poor in not only in economic side, but in a religious side also. We are simple. We have faith, but to our faith to grow more deeply, we don't have anything. We have no religious school, nothing where we can study the Christianity, where we can go deeper in our biblical study. But I always feel that why not for our simple people? Something to have schools for them, something where they can knowledge their faith. My greater wish, everybody, all the Christian may study. All the Christian may study biblical study to grow in their faith. So it's my dream that if we have some schools, some universities, which can really teach what we listen from outside the world. There is this university teaching this kind of religious education, teaching this kind of, why not we have in Pakistan?
You said earlier, you spoke to me previously about a story that your brother said about your vocation and what your vocation meant to him. Can you tell us a little bit, if it's not too private, what your vocation means to this one particular brother?
My brother, elder brother, because in the beginning also he was not agree that I enter in the convent. But now, because already 16 years I'm in the convent, and I always, my life is, I can say there are some kind of moments which I really felt to go back. Like when my mother died, I was not in Pakistan, I was in Philippines. And I reached after 4 days in Pakistan, and then my mother was already buried. I was not able to see her last time. So it was a moment that after 3 days, my superior asked me to leave Pakistan and to go back for my study because I was having exams. And my brother shouted at that time, he said, why? Why you cannot spend some time with us? I don't know, I received the grace that time. I said no. What had happened had passed already. You are my family, but there is a greater family I belong. So I have to go back and obey my superior because I promise. So I came back to Philippines, I studied, I went back. That occasion also helped my brother to understand also. And when I went back, once we were together and one of his Muslim friend came. So he was sharing, this is my sister who entered into convent, and she's sister now, already 15 years. He was sharing, and then that Muslim friend was surprised. He said, what is this? And then he was asking some question or this. And so while I was answering, he just answered, she's like my son. So
He's pointing to you. He said,
yes,
she's like my son.
she's like my son, and there is no one else like her.
And why did he make this comparison to his son?
It's a culture that the son always do something great. So for him, I had done something great, but I was feeling myself that I am weak. I said, no, I did not do anything good. And they were saying, no, because of you. Because of you, it helped me in my faith also.
So your vocation helped him?
My vocation helped him, and his prayer helped me.
And that's what family is.
Yes.
Sister, thank you for having been with us today on our
Thank
program.
you very much.
Please pray for us, and we pray for you and pray for the church in Pakistan.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today in our program, Where God Weeps. And if you'd like to know more about the story of Christians, of Catholics in Pakistan, or perhaps how you may be able to help, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.